In 2022, a crack Spurg unit was sent to sensory-friendly prison by the court of public opinion for a crime they probably did. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security gay baby jail to the podcasting underground. Today, still wanted by Autism Speaks, they survive as gamers of fortune. If you have a problem, if someone else can help but doesn't want to, and with the right bribe, maybe you can hire the Autismo team.
All right, we're ready to yap and try to stay focused while talking about
Cogent.
the inability to stay
That's the right word
focused.
for it, isn't cogent?
I think so. It sounds nice. It sounds smart. Most people won't know.
I'm pretty sure we did this bit already.
Probably.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what it's like to not being able to pay attention while we're probably not going to be able to pay attention to doing it.
Alright.
Yeah.
So, just a regular
Happy.
day then.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Episode 3, ADHD.
Is this the intro, or are you just
I
setting a marker or something?
a little bit of both. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. We've been doing this for 3 or 4 years. This is only episode 3. Help.
We should change our header to that. Team Autismo. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's been the unofficial one for since we started anyways.
Are you sure this will work? I have no idea.
I have no idea.
And there it is. We got distracted again.
Yeah. Record.
We're terrible at this.
Put it on the board. I'm probably going to end up cutting this up and just using it as
Put some
outtakes.
more money in the jar.
using it as outtakes.
Okay, it's Team Autismo, episode 3, take 5068.
And
Poopy.
That was a good one.
yeah. So this is episode 3. We're talking ADHD. We've technically been recording for 30-something minutes.
More
And
like 50.
yeah, we're, just around 50.
But it depends on where you actually start recording.
The timer says about 30-ish, 38. So I think around that amount of time. And we're
For
just...
clarification, we've been recording for about 30 minutes. We've actually been in call for about an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so now we're finally starting. So I guess that gives a great overview of what ADHD is to begin with.
Yes, autistic people with ADHD.
Can't pay attention to nothing. So we're going to talk about ADHD on this autism podcast because the co-occurrence is ridiculously high on some studies. I've seen, they're mostly estimates, but the two numbers I've seen are 50 to 80% of autistic people are also ADHD. So
Wow.
I feel like since we have an autism podcast, it would be prudent to also discuss ADHD since also at least 2 of us are also ADHD.
Yeah.
At least 2 of us have a confirmed diagnosis.
Right.
And for that matter, I'm Lyric, he's Mike, and the guy over there threatening the coffee machine is Dan.
Yep.
Yeah, that's me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's obvious.
You can tell from the sheer ecstatic nature of his voice.
See, I've known Dan long enough that I can see through the monotony, the monotone voice to his excitement. So we are very excited to be doing this episode.
Yeah. I'm trembling.
So let's start off with, I think, probably one of the more important things about ADHD is how it's named.
Perceived?
It's perceived, and part of that is the name. The name's just awful. It's got to go.
Yeah.
Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder does not aptly describe what's actually happening internally. It describes external symptoms, which is a practice in psychology that really needs to go the way of the dodo, so to speak. External symptoms are fine to, use as diagnostic tool, but overall, it's way more important about what's actually happening internally versus what external
symptoms.
What's actually showing to other people, right?
Yeah, but the name is fine as a symptomatic signifier, but the actual meat and potatoes of the condition can't accurately be defined by it.
Yep. A friend of mine has suggested that we change the name to Time Attention Regulatory Disorder, or TARD.
That's good.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't see that coming up. I actually thought that sounded good.
It does, though,
No,
because
it's got my vote.
it's way more descriptive than attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
Yeah.
How do you too, fellow tards?
Exactly. Especially since hyperactivity is not necessarily present, like
Jink.
externally. Especially, like, for me, my hyperactivity is mainly internal in my head. Like, I'm constantly swapping between one thing and another. I'll be talking to my roommate and switch subjects like 5 times within a sentence.
I just get like really, really manic too, and that kind of coincides with it. And I'll just start like talking about something, then switch to something else, and I'll have like 5 different conversations going on Discord, and I'll have 100 tabs open.
Oh gosh, the tabs. What's your record on, like, when you close Firefox and it tells you you are closing such and such number of tabs?
Oh god, I think my record is 300.
Good gracious. Okay, you got me beat. I'm pretty sure mine was like a little over 100.
Yeah, that's what forced me to go ahead and get 32 gigs of RAM, because
I currently have 55 tabs.
Because my web browser is using approximately 20 gigs of RAM, and I still need room for gaming.
I currently have 55 tabs open, a mix between YouTube, Windows, tarot card readings, Elden Ring pages, and comics.
So I've been on mobile a lot lately, which is a terrible thing. I can pay way more attention to things on desktop, which is where I'm at now. Desktop, I have maybe 20 tabs open. Mobile, for a while, the number on the tab, like on Firefox Mobile, it has a number telling you how many tabs you have open. It was the infinity symbol. It stopped counting.
but your phone was hot too.
It gets hot a lot, yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't the number 8 and it just got drunk?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, because it was well more than 8. Unless it just stopped counting at 8 and then just fell over. Anyways, ADHD. Some fun facts. I already mentioned the 80% comorbidity rates. So we're talking about ADHD and autism and how they kind of co-occur. Well, up until about 2013, the American Psychiatry Association insisted that the two can't co-occur. So that was like, what, 10 years ago that changed?
That's like right around when I got diagnosed, I think.
That was well after I got diagnosed, which is why my diagnosis went from ADHD to Asperger's. Yeah. And it never really became both.
I just have like a laundry list of stuff now that
I have all the things. You just open the DSM and just kind of flip to a random page and be like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It'd be quicker to pick out the things you don't have.
Let me think. I don't think I have narcissistic personality disorder. So, yeah.
AIDS?
BPD?
I do have that.
Yeah, he's BPD, yeah. He's bipolar.
And I have borderline.
Yep. Whee!
But, yeah.
But ADHD, I guess it would help if we try to define it a little bit.
There's so much stuff that's very nuanced.
Yeah, I think the easiest way to talk about what it is to like go into the cause of ADHD, and the root cause is it's a dopamine disorder. The neurochemical dopamine either, like, this isn't very well understood, but it either isn't absorbed correctly, it isn't produced enough, it doesn't get transported well enough, there's some kind of disorder happening with the neurochemical dopamine. It causes difficulty with, regulating attention, because, motivation is a big part of staying focused on tasks or whatever.
Right.
And so ADHD is divided into 3 main types. You've got mainly inattentive, mainly hyperactive, impulsive, and combined. They kind of do what they say on the tin, right? You got inattentive, you don't pay attention much, you don't seem to listen, you're kind of slow.
Yeah, that's me.
Process information more slowly, trouble following directions. Some of this kind of overlaps with autism, and that's why they co-occur so much. Like trouble following directions, for people on the spectrum, verbal instructions can be very difficult to follow.
Yeah, growing up, I used to get in so much trouble for supposedly not paying attention and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't you just pay attention?
I know. Well, we'll get into...
Why can't you just be more interesting?
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. You're the problem, actually. We'll get into childhood stuff in a little bit. There's a lot to say on that.
Yeah.
So there's inattentive type, there's hyperactive impulsive, which is the more external hyperactivity that is more associated with, more closely associated with what the typical person thinks of ADHD.
Yeah.
So you're like constantly fidgeting, you're constantly talking, impatient, trouble engaging in quiet activities, acting out of turn and don't think about consequences.
Can't stay still.
Yeah, I can't stay still.
That's what it was like when I was growing up. Everybody just thought ADHD was that, because I thought I suggested at one point to my parents that I might have had it, and they went, "Oh no, you're not like so and so. They have ADHD, and they're just a big problem. They're a problem child, and they can't stop acting out, etc., etc."
So y'all probably had the two of the 3 main types.
Yeah.
And that's why, it didn't look the same, but it is the same disorder.
It really sucked not having medication and having it diagnosed, because teachers and other people just thought I was not paying attention on purpose, and I get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of issues regarding school-age kids and diagnosis of ADHD, because I think in some, we'll go ahead and get into this since it got brought up. I think in some cases it's over diagnosed. Yeah, overdiagnosed by a lot, because kids naturally have a lot of energy, and they learn best. This has been studied and practically proven that they learn best while engaged in an activity and learning at the same time. So that's like the average kid, right? You put them in a scenario where they have zero interaction with anything. They sit at their desk with their book open, nothing to fidget with, nothing to, mess around with your hands. And you got this boring teacher up there droning on about something you don't care about. Who would actually be able to pay attention to that as a small child?
When they're right mindful, that was a good idea.
I don't know. Nobody pays attention like that at that age, especially. College age kids can probably do it, because typically they're enrolled in classes that they find interesting, so they'll be able to pay attention.
Yeah.
Whereas little kids, like, their interest is going outside and playing or whatever, And so this is what we were talking about earlier with the external, what things look like. doctors will see ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity, and go, oh yes, this kid is hyperactive. They're disrupting in class and all these things. So it must be ADHD. When sometimes a more obvious, solution is you've got them in a bad environment for kids. And I think that does happen. A lot of people get diagnosed with ADHD early on in life and then move on and realize it was misdiagnosed and they never really had it. And then there are others, like Daniel here, where you definitely had it all along and it was just completely missed because your external, what people saw was not matching up with what they expected ADHD to look like.
Yeah, it was like it was like autism.
Mm-hmm.
Really, people didn't properly understand, and my parents were scared I would get on some weird medication and act like a zombie. But when I finally did get on medication, it didn't do that at all. But it really sucked. Like, I went through so much stuff, like taking classes and trying really hard, and I just couldn't pay attention or retain information and follow directions. And people would go, "You're smart. Why can't you do this?" And I felt like something was wrong with me, like I was broke or something.
Yeah, and that's the combination of autism and ADHD and how it really gets us in trouble. It's, the autistics don't receive verbal instruction very well to begin with. And then you got the ADHD on top of that, where you can't even give focus to that thing. And it's like a perfect storm of I'm not paying attention and I can't understand it anyways. Even if I could pay attention, I wouldn't understand it, but I can't do either.
Yeah.
It's rough. And we may as well talk about meds right now. It's further down in my outline, but whatever. We ball. I wanted to start with a disclaimer. None of us are doctors. We don't have medical training outside of like maybe basic CPR training or something in Lyric's case. We don't hold any medical degrees. This is not medical advice. We are discussing our personal experiences, and you should discuss any changes in medication with your personal doctors. Okay, disclaimer out of the way.
And by starts with a medical disclaimer, we mean wait about 20 minutes, half an hour to state it.
Yeah, well, I want to put it in front of when we're actually discussing medical stuff, because I want to say for me, medication has not been helpful. Dan has said it is for him, and that's awesome.
Very helpful.
For me, it was helpful for a while, and this is my journey with medication, is I'll get on a medication. It works swimmingly for a year, maybe, a couple years. And then suddenly all the side effects start happening at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's unbearable. I get off the medication. I get on a different medication. Rinse, repeat. It happens again and again and again. And recently, about probably close to a year ago, I got off all of my psychoactive medication with help from my doctor. Okay, I didn't just do this willy-nilly. I had a psychiatrist work with me to do this. And it was pretty rough, but and I'm having to readjust to a lot of things. Like my executive functioning has gotten noticeably worse since I've not been on meds. Which for the uninitiated is the ability to initiate, plan, and follow through on tasks, essentially. Because the meds helped me with that. They did help me with certain things, but the side effects were just worse than anything it helped me with.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm having to learn how to do those things.
What medication were you taking for ADHD?
What wasn't I taking? I've been on so many different medications. When I was a kid, it was Ritalin. I think I've been on almost everything.
Oh, okay. I just take methylphenidate.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one I've been on.
Okay. You see, in your case, it's worked for you for a long time, and that's great.
Yeah.
And that's why people need to, seek medical help and talk to their doctor about this stuff, because for some of us, it's just not helpful. Not helpful enough. And then for some of us, it's very helpful.
Medicine is like that.
Mm-hmm. I like it's kind of a newer approach that people are taking. Some of the groups I work with have started taking this approach in that coping skills come first. And then if medication is still needed on top of that, to do the minimal necessary. Because a lot of us are highly over medicated, and I've worked with group homes and stuff where you see that kind of stuff, and it's really sad. Just zombies, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
No one should live like that. And
No, definitely not.
the combination of coping skills and meds, if necessary, is ideal, because really medication is not going to fix you. Not when it comes to psych
No.
stuff.
Just helps make stuff easier to deal with.
Yeah, it helps the process.
Not even that.
Mhm.
It makes you okay with not being okay.
Yeah.
It eases the process. And if you just rely on medication and never learn any coping skills, things aren't going to be as good as they can
Well,
be.
that's stagnation.
Yeah, you're just going to stagnate. You're not going to improve. You're not going to move forward. And we should always be striving to move forward. So do both. Start with coping skills, especially. I need to actually look into some more coping skills and trying to coalesce them into a package that I can show people. Because I have in my outline here to talk about one of the controversial things. I think it's a bit of a controversy. Is on social media, ADHD has gotten a lot of attention lately, and it's been a good thing and a bad thing, as usual on the internet. Everything's got some good and some bad. What's happened is a bunch of coaches have sprung up that charge you money to coach you through, your ADHD symptoms and how to cope and all this stuff.
It sounds terrible. I've seen the same thing with some autism on Twitter, personal coaches, but they're just grifters.
Yeah, and it really
Grinds my gears.
I feel like this stuff should be openly available, because while here's the thing, I feel like they should do a little bit of both. Like, it should all be open, and for people that can afford it, they can get some one-on-one, but most people can't afford it. The information should be out there for them to be able to parse through it on their own.
Yeah.
Or with help from a friend or family member or something. As it is right now, it's few and far between to find helpful information, especially since we are still learning about all this stuff. Like I was saying earlier, it's a dopamine disorder. We don't know what is happening. We just know something's happening to make dopamine not work the way it's supposed to. So a lot still left to understand. Let's see. Let's talk about yeah, we already talked about that. Never mind. All right. I'm actually staying on the outline by accident. Look at that.
Wow.
Look at that.
Well,
We're
that's
accidentally
such a
on topic.
Look at that. That's the only way we're going to be able to do it, though, isn't it? So more controversial topics. Why not? One of the focuses of this podcast has always been a more of a to try to move the focus to adults with developmental disorders, autism, and the like.
Yeah.
Because there's a hyperfixation on children, which they need help. Yeah, early diagnosis is absolutely crucial. It is critical for the best outcome. However, we can't just also drop people off to fend for themselves after 18.
No, and I feel like that's what they sort of expect.
Mm-hmm. And ADHD has the exact same problem that autism has. This is getting better because of social media and people speaking out and giving their testimony and whatever. But it's like we were talking about earlier. You look up things about ADHD, all the diagnostic stuff is about kids in grade school, right? Like when I was researching for this episode, I found a post on Reddit from someone named Miss Steve Harvey. This individual had several tests done as an adult for ADHD, and she could tell they were meant for kids. And it was kind of,
Condescending.
it's kind of condescending because it's like, I'm clearly an adult. This person's in college, I think, at the time of posting. She said that she learned more about ADHD from TikTok in the last 2 months than she has in 6 years since the diagnosis.
That is depressing.
It is depressing. And it's a double-edged sword, too, because I hope this doesn't come to as a shock for y'all, but just because it's on the internet doesn't make it true. I know.
Are you absolutely certain about that?
100% positive. It's a tough pill to swallow, but
No, I'm gonna have to get fact checkers on them.
Snopes, call Snopes, bring them up. But there is a lot
Does
of
internet lie to me?
there is a lot of disinformation about ADHD, and some of it's well-meaning. Like, a lot of people are trying to make a sort of community by saying, "Hey, isn't this so relatable, ADHDers? Am I right? Am I right, fellow ADHDers?"
I've gotten so burned on that kind of
Spooky.
stuff.
Yeah, and oftentimes it's stuff that basically everybody struggles with.
Yeah.
Not only that, but there's a trend of people, usually young girls, going to websites like TikTok or Twitter and seeing these people doing these ADHD posts or bipolar posts, or
Yeah.
people faking having dissociative identity disorder,
that's a
and then
popular one.
emulating it to the point where they actually express symptoms themselves.
Mhm.
I've seen studies where there's actually a rise in people having faux autism
Mhm.
because they watch content about autism on these websites or apps and then mimic it, basically getting all the drawbacks with none of the benefits.
Yeah, and speaking of controversy, that's a fun topic, isn't it? Self-diagnosis. Whew. That's a bag of worms right there. I've been lucky in that I haven't really had to discuss it too much. I think like most things, there's nuance to it, and I know it's really weird having an autistic guy think in non-black and white terms, but I've had to learn that the hard way. And I think I overdo it sometimes. But I think there's positives and negatives for self-diagnosis, and I think most people take it way too seriously. It's part of the problem.
Yeah.
They say self-diagnosis is valid and whatever, and you should have access to the same treatment. No, I don't agree with that.
No, it's someone tried.
Self-diagnosis is not valid.
No, it has a purpose for sure.
If you think you have the condition,
Right,
go get checked out by a professional.
right.
Someone, I'm not going to name them, tried telling me that self-diagnosis leads to more real diagnoses, and that's just no. I go to the doctor. You just want to put more stuff on your social media account that you have because people think that's cool now.
So here's my thoughts on it. It's helpful as a tool. So you go on TikTok and whatever, and you see.
You're helpful as a tool.
I hope so. I hope so. You go on TikTok or Reddit or whatever, and you see these people discussing their symptoms, and you're like, "Hey, I thought I was a freak because I've always felt this way. Here's my opportunity to discuss it with a psychiatrist. Like, these are the things I'm having. I've always been having. This is what it's like," and that will give them much more accurate information to make a diagnosis. So being informed about, what symptoms you might be having, or what you're feeling, or what others feel as well, can be very helpful to lead to a diagnosis. However, it cannot replace an official diagnosis. And I think that's where we have this problem in our culture right now of false compassion. And I think that's one place it's really showing up, is telling people.
I think it's less false compassion, more toxic compassion.
Yeah, I mean, that's another way to put it.
There's definitely, these people are definitely compassionate, but they're compassionate to the point of toxicity.
Yeah.
Like anything taken beyond moderate levels becomes toxic.
Yeah.
Even water and oxygen become toxic if you have too much of it.
Right. And it's just validating every single thought every single person has. It's a bad idea, like genuinely.
Yeah.
So I think there's some nuance that most people are ignoring in the self-diagnosis trend. I've been doing a lot of thinking about it, and I've been talking to a lot of people about it. And the bottom line is, it's helpful to help you get to an official diagnosis, but it, like I said, cannot replace one.
No.
It's a step on the journey, is the way I see it.
I think if you really care about if you have it or not, you'll go to a doctor or some kind of physician. But there are a lot of people that just like saying they have
treat it as the destination.
Yeah. And the difficulty is, some people can't afford to go see a doctor. And,
that's true.
And at that point, you're kind of stuck. But I think it's still dangerous to say self-diagnosis is the same as an official diagnosis.
No, I mean, what's to say? What if a person starts looking at a borderline or bipolar and they say, "Oh, I don't like being abandoned. That must mean I'm borderline."
Yeah. Well, it's the whole pee or poo analogy. I wrote that in the outline. We all know everybody poops, right?
Are you absolutely certain about that?
There's books written about this. I believe them. So
that's an appeal to authority. I'm not sure I can trust you.
That's correct. Everyone poops, but if you have to go to the bathroom every 2 to 3 minutes, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. It's an issue of severity, and a lot of times these diagnostic criteria don't really list that specifically because it's kind of taken as a given that if a symptom is described, then it is pervasive and makes life difficult in some manner. Whereas the casual observer is not putting that
emphasis.
Yeah, they're not putting that presupposition in there that any of these symptoms have to be pervasive and severe in order for it to be diagnosable. And so, like you said, they see, oh, I'm restless sometimes. I guess I'm ADHD. But no, it's got to be pervasive, and you have to be going to the bathroom every 2 minutes in the poo analogy, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's something wonderful that if we, tried a little harder, we could come to a better understanding with neurotypical folks, which is people not on the spectrum and not ADHD and all that. It's what it sounds like. Standard people, average Joes. And I feel like if we played our cards right, it would really help our relationship a lot, because it is kind of strained, obviously. The whole thing of, we're also human. We have the same human experience. It's just some things are a little more extreme, but it's the same kinds of things. And yeah, I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox for a minute.
No, I agree with you.
Let's see.
Why is it called a soapbox anyway?
So I don't know.
Because you're just like
you think you don't know, or you know you don't know?
I mean, I know people used to stand on a box in the middle of town square and like yell out what they thought about things, but I don't know why it was specifically a soapbox.
Maybe that's all they could find at the time.
Yeah. Maybe the food boxes were not available at the time. No peach boxes.
No.
What if that was the phrase?
I don't like peaches.
Peach box. I don't either. I don't even like the smell of them. It's unfortunate because I've had several people try to get me to try them and be like, how do you not like peaches? And we actually went to South Carolina or Georgia, where they're famous for their peaches. They're like the best peaches in the world, right? And I went to an actual farm, got them fresh picked that day, and I was like, all right, I'll try it. I hated it. absolutely hated it.
I'm okay with peaches. I just don't like peach flavored stuff.
That's fair. You know, it's interesting is like the first second I bit into it, I was like, that's not that bad. And then that taste started coming and I was like, no. At first I just tasted sweet and it was kind of nice, but then there's like this weird bitter chemically taste that I get from peaches that I guess other people don't get. It's probably like that, you know, some people think cilantro tastes like soap.
Oh yeah.
It's probably that similar kind of thing. Like peaches are not that sweet to me. It's they've got this bitter. I don't know how to describe it. It's gross.
They're not the fun kind of bitter.
Right. Unpleasant. So now that we've gotten distracted.
Anyway, what was the thing we were going to move on to?
I don't know. ADHD. Distraction.
So guys, ADHD.
We've kind of covered a lot of this. It's kind of nice.
You want to just talk random?
Poppycock.
We could. There's one more thing I think I wanted to touch on, which is ADHD is overdiagnosed, and there's also something called ODD, oppositional defiance disorder, which is overdiagnosed as well. And it's usually kind of malicious in the way it's overdiagnosed. And it's what it sounds like, oppositional defiance disorder. You have a disorder that makes you just defy and oppose any authority. I think many times, and I've read case studies and stuff where people on the spectrum or with ADHD or both were originally diagnosed with ODD because they couldn't sit still in class, you know, wouldn't stop talking in class, wouldn't stop fidgeting. Well, gosh, what's that sound like, guys? Sounds like ADHD. I just wanted to briefly touch on that. That frustrates me a lot. I see it in my work in advocacy stuff. I see that pop up pretty often. It's another one of those things of seeing only the external expression. That's the word I've been looking for this whole time. The expression of symptoms versus what's really causing it. And the sad thing is, a lot of this is being done by school psychologists, and a lot of them have hundreds of kids that they're trying to help, and they just don't have time. Some don't care, but some don't have time.
Yeah.
And they do care. And that's, I don't really know how to fix that. Other than, you know, destroy the school system and homeschool, but
Abolish
yeah.
standardized education.
Yeah. But, you know, that's not going to fly well with a lot of people. Anyways, I can go on a tangent on that for a while, but we'll save that for another episode when we're...
Abolishing standardized education?
Yeah. We'll save that for an episode where we know we're going to get canceled anyways, and then just say it. Eventually, our real thoughts are going to come out, and we really are going to get canceled, so we'll save it for that episode.
First, we need a giant wooden rabbit.
Why a rabbit?
It's a Monty Python reference.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't we supposed to be in the rabbit?
I forgot about that one.
I think the next one they wanted to try was a badger.
Badger, mushroom.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. What else is there to put on
Do you guys still count out the number of badgers?
No. I've heard it on repeat so many times throughout my life that I don't even have to count it out anymore. I just know. It's kind of surreal now that I think about it. How do I know? I feel like that Geodude in that meme, in that comic, is Geodude sits in a cave. Is he made of cave, or is the cave made of him? He screams for he does not know.
He screams because he does not know.
I feel like we covered ADHD pretty good. There's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah.
And we briefly covered badgers.
Mm-hmm. So, kind of a typical episode for us.
Typical episode of autism.
Yeah. It's funny, like the listeners are going to hear typical episode and think, you're only on episode 3. What are you talking about? Okay, this is probably the 30th recording we've done, though.
No. We're not on episode 3. We're on the completed episode 3.
Right.
The one we actually got to print.
Hopefully. We'll see.
We're not counting all the times we tried this and
Blinked.
f***ed it up.
Yeah. I probably should have counted all that and just released certain ones. So like this would be episode 20. So we'd go episode 4 and episode 8 and episode 20, and then no other episodes would be released. And people were like, well, where's the other ones? They're lost.
Dropped him behind the sofa.
The Lost Team Autismo pilot episode.
I might still have some of that saved somewhere.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Some of it I delete.
Terrible at keeping your desktop clear.
Oh yeah, you've seen. It's bad. It's a serious problem. I have a friend who's really good at organizing stuff, and I have told her several times that I will hire her to help me fix my crap. So what we're gonna do next time, guys? What are we gonna talk about? Oh, I know one thing.
Yeah.
We have shirts.
Well, we did autism in the workplace, right?
Yeah, we did.
Did that one actually go live? Or did we just think about it and it never actually got recorded?
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Because we've definitely done stuff about autism in the workplace.
We've recorded it, but I don't...
Did we actually publish it?
No, I don't think so. It was recorded, and then we decided we didn't like it, and we kind of moved on and forgot to go back to it. So since I have a lot more experience...
autism in the workplace.
Yeah, that's a good one to go next, because I have a lot more experience on both sides of that now. So, important announcement, we have shirts. Go buy them. They're on our website.
Really cool.
They're exceptionally comfortable.
teamautismo.com. And exceptionally comfortable and cheap. I am making a paltry sum of money on each one. So, go buy a bunch of them. We actually have several designs now. I'm constantly thinking of new ideas and working on them because I guess I'm much better at designing shirts than I am podcasting.
I'm better at designing shirts than literally anything else.
I guess so. But I'm wearing one right now. So we chose a shirt that's a little bit tighter than standard because this is an autism podcast and we like the sensation of being squeezed, right? So
Yeah.
also the fabric itself is super soft and sensory friendly, so that's nice. So if you order one, I recommend going a size up than what you normally wear, unless you like it really tight, in which case just keep with the same one.
Oh, God.
Oh no.
Oh, dear.
Oh my.
We've got several designs. My favorite one is still our mascot Clarence. He's a llama, a baby llama. It says big autism energy.
The derpiest baby llama.
He is the derpiest. He is ours. It says big autism energy across the top, and it has some Japanese characters that more or less translate to maximum autism. And then, of course, you got Team Autismo there at the bottom to tell you to go to our website.
Maximum overtism.
So yeah, keep an eye on the website. I think did I publish some hats too, or did I just think about it?
I think you just thought about
I think
it.
you thought about it.
I brought it up.
This
to
is the
y'all.
first time I'm hearing about hats.
Are you sure I didn't bring it up to y'all? I don't know.
I'm 90% sure this is the first time I'm hearing about
I
hats.
think I brought it up while you were asleep, and Dan said, "Yeah, I like the idea." I think that's what happened. One of those times when we have these long conversations while you're asleep, and you wake up to like 500 notifications, and you say, "Nah, I'm not reading through all that." I think it was one of those times.
I skim through most of
You
it.
usually skim it.
9 times out of 10 is just Dan spouting random.
Poppycock.
No video games.
Okay, do I need to know any of this?
Obviously, it's life-saving stuff. No. Just kidding.
So yeah, bottom line, if you didn't listen to anything else in this podcast, go buy our shirts. No, genuinely, I'm really happy with the shirt we chose. Lyric came in.
It is a very
visited
nice
me.
shirt.
Yeah, Lyric came and visited me earlier this year, and I had a shirt ready for him. So he has one. Dan, I mailed you yours, so you have one.
Yeah, I do.
And of course, I have one because it got shipped directly to me. Shipping was pretty quick too. Since there are print on demand, it's a little slower than, like Amazon or something. You're not going to get it next day or in 2 days because it is made to order. I think mine took about a week, which I thought was a lot faster than it was going to be.
It's pretty quick for made to order.
Yeah. But we have several designs. We're working on more all the time.
And when we say working on more, it's sort of just one of us will drop an idea at random. Yeah, hey, wouldn't this be a cool idea for a shirt?
Yep. More or less. We're done. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.